Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Live Evil. Life can be more evil than death.
Directed by Jay Woelfel, starring Tim Thomerson, Mark Hengst, Osa Wallander, Kimberly Sanders, and Ken Foree, Live Evil is a vampire film about vampires who just can't drink pure blood anymore because the human population is too doped up and they're passing around STDs and they just want pure blood and it's really hard to find.
They're growing weak. They need their pure blood. They're becoming extinct and fighting amongst themselves.
Well, that's happening. There's a renegade priest who wields a samurai sword and he's kind of a badass and he's just hunting down vampires and slaughtering them. So what do we like?
I enjoyed Tim Thomerson. He plays the priest, he's a badass, and man does he know how to kill vampires. This guy's setting traps, he's slicing people up, he's using crosses, he is just really gangster.
There are great special effects. We have real stunts, so there's like car chases, cars flipping and blowing up and stuff. And then we also have a ton of like head explosions and crushes. There's just a lot of blood in this movie and it's great. And one of my favorite special effects was a melting person who happened to be Alyssa Dowling. She was playing some weird bartender getting head by a midget or something and then she gets melted and it was fucking weird and awesome.
And speaking of the ladies in this film, there were good-looking ladies in this film. We had our nudity, which was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. A lot of it was gratuitous. It didn't need to be there, but it was, and I appreciate that.
One of the girls was Jenny Hendricks, adult star. You may or may not know. I didn't know her before this, that's for sure. We also had Tiffany Shepis, who played like some coke dealer. So she's part of the problem. She's polluting the blood streams, and vampires didn't like that. She's gone immediately, but it was nice seeing her anyway.
I like that this film took risks. Not the physical risks, the story risks. There's a few moments in this movie where you're like, oh, are they really gonna do that? For example, eating babies.
Now, what didn't we like? I think one of the biggest issues with this film is it's a very convoluted story. There's a lot happening and it's very confusing. Basically, we're following the priest and we're following the main vampires. And they're kind of doing their own thing with no set goal. You don't really know what either of their intentions are until close to the end of the movie. So you're just waiting for something to happen. But that thing that you're waiting to happen, you don't even know what it's going to be. And it's a little frustrating because you have no idea how close to the end you are while you're watching the movie. It just kind of drags on. You're like, is this the point that they're supposed to be getting to? Or is there something else that we're supposed to know? There's a lot of kills, there's a lot of stuff, but I just don't know what's happening.
The issue is also the lore with the vampires. Like, we're getting a moment where we're seeing vampires walking in the day. And then we get a vampire that dies in daylight. Like, it's all over the place. Like, there's multiple types of vampires, and you're throwing so much information at us, but you're not giving us any of these reasons.
Right, like some vampires, they go as much to have just like a full set of teeth and mouth in their palm. And once you see that, there's no fucking rules. Everyone could be a vampire, and you know, down the road, everybody does become a vampire. Well, the production value is pretty solid throughout the film. There's some really weird things sometimes. Like, there's obviously this dude that's wearing a wig, and for the whole movie, he's just wearing a wig, and the audience is gonna know. And in one scene, you can see him put the wig on, but they never explain why he might be wearing a wig or why his hair needs to look that way. I don't know, they just don't explain certain things in the film and it's awkward. If somebody were to go and re-edit this, maybe knock 10 to 20 minutes off and try and better explain the story, that would be great. Oh, and less flashbacks of the priest, because that didn't need to happen until the last 2 minutes of the movie. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Live Evil was a different take on the vampire film. It had some excellent special effects. There are a lot of really cool kills, some great gore. The acting was pretty solid, and we did have some funny moments. However, the story was just a mess. Everything was everywhere. It contradicted itself many times when it came to the lore of the vampires, and the whole story with the twists and even without was just a mess. I couldn't follow it, and it got really boring and tired towards the end. I've been drinking steadily, and it just sobered me right up. It's just way too boring, unfortunately. So I'm gonna give this 1.5 Blackulas out of 5.
Live Evil was a good attempt at the vampire genre. It's a genre that's been overplayed and at the same time underused in recent years. I liked what they were trying to go with, but they just screwed up the lore way too much, and that's depressing because we actually had a cool character in the priest. And if they did a movie in that style with him just hunting vampires like he's the new Van Helsing, this would have been a phenomenal film. There's a lot of stuff visually that's nice about this film, but there's just too much that's confusing and you're gonna be scratching your head most of the time. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this 2.5 vampire baby skewers out of 5.
Goddamn vampire babies. They're the worst.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.